Hi, have you ever wondered about what types of flashes are there in dental photography, which ones you can use? I'm going to talk you through a few options. I'm going to explain how they work, what are the pros and cons of each option, and that will hopefully help you decide which one is best for you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about mobile phone photography, mobile phone with a flash, the inbuilt flash on your SLR, the pop-up flash, then the ring flash, a twin flash with a diffuser, and a little bit about studio photography. So this is with the mobile phone. There's plenty of natural light. It's going to get really up close and we'll see what shots we get. Brilliant. Couple from the side. Brilliant. Okay, if you take off the retractors, please. Pop your head back and give us a smile. Thank you. All right. Let's see what that gets us. As you can see from the photos, the center incisors look quite wide, and as we go posteriorly, the teeth appear narrower. And this is not the problem with the lighting, it's actually the problem with the lens of the mobile phone. But anyways, because this video is more aimed towards lighting rather than types of lenses, perhaps we can cover that in another video. But you can see there isn't much detail on the teeth or on the gingiva. Even so, it is still a decent photo. I'd say a photo from a mobile phone is better than no photo at all. So let's put on in the next section the flash on the mobile phone and see what that gets us. Right, let's see how those look as well. As you can see with these photos, the lighting is slightly improved. If you compare the two, so on top is without the flash and bottom is with the flash from a mobile phone, you can see there is a little bit more definition, there is a little bit more clarity, and the lighting looks a little bit better. Yet, it's not as good as we want it to be, so let's see what other options we have. Now let's move on to a proper SLR body and a dedicated macro lens. In my case, I'm using a Canon. You can have Nikon or any other brand, and it should work pretty much the same. So as you can see, this is our SLR. And here is a pop-up flash. Just press a little switch on the side, the pop-up flash comes on. So let's see what the result is, but obviously we can see that this lens is going to interfere with the light falling on our subject. So we need something that's not going to cast a shadow on our subject. But anyway, let's give that a shot. As you can see from these images, the overall effect is much better, and this is compared with the mobile phone. This is primarily due to the fact that we have used an SLR body and a dedicated macro lens. However, amongst other issues, we can see that because the light is coming from above, it is creating harsh shadows. In the image on the top, we can see the lip is casting a shadow on the teeth. Also, there is inadequate light on the back teeth. Overall, we can see that the lighting is a bit harsh, creating some very bright highlights and some really dark shadows. Let's move on to the next setup. So how about an external flash that sits on the hot shoe? This is the Canon 430EX2. So let's pop that on there. It goes there, you get locked into position, flick it on. We'll take a couple of shots with them and we'll see what we get. This is a similar result when compared with the built-in flash. In fact, a bit worse. In these photos, the problem still exists, as in the lips are casting a shadow onto the teeth. This is happening because the light is coming from far above relative to the teeth, creating these harsh shadows. Plus, there is very little detail captured of the teeth. Clearly, this isn't a good option for such photos. The positive here is that the flash may be useful for taking full face photos. Let's have a recap of the photos we've taken so far. On the top left is a photo from a mobile phone without the flash. The next one down is the one taken with a mobile phone with the flash on. Below that is a photo taken with a built-in pop-up flash, and on the top right is a photo with an external flash that is mounted on the hot shoe of the camera. I've placed a photo of the external flash to the right just for reference. As we can see, the results are quite mixed with each option. Let's now look into the ring flash option. Right, then we're going to use our little ring flash and put off the pop-up flash. This is our ring flash. It's got a little controller here, and it's got a couple of tubes on the side. So let's put that on. It simply slides in there tighten up the nut there, and then the front bit actually sits on the lens. Now you might need a couple of converting rings here, but my camera doesn't need, because it kind of matches with the diameter of the filter thread on the top of the lens as well. So just going to go there, pop that in, and let's see what we get with that. Right, so that's our little control unit for the ring flash. It's got a mode button there, and that allows you to switch between either ETTL or manual mode. We want to use the manual mode. Now why not the ETTL mode? The TTL basically stands for through the lens, and the camera actually is trying to calculate how much amount of flash exposure should it do, and so it does its old algorithm, but isn't very accurate, and therefore we're going to press that again. We're going to use the manual mode. Now what if I want to lower the flash power? As you can see here, it says 1 by 1, which means it's a full power. I can also drop down the power if the flash is too strong. So I just press the select button here, and then I can either press the plus or the minus button. So in this case, we're going to press the minus one. You can see the power is dropped down to half, another one, 1/4, 1/8, and so on and so forth. So right now we're going to try and put it on full power, and let's see what photos that gets us. There we go. That's a much better result. The advantages of the ring flash system are clear. We have good exposures, even lighting, meaning there is ample lighting starting from the central incisors all the way back to the molars. We have good detail, a decent capture of the texture. There are no harsh shadows or burnt out areas. This is because the flash system sits on the lens itself, so there are no shadows. Let's put a photo from the ring flash system that we just took into our previous collection of photos and compare the results. As we can see, we have progressively got better results. The downside in these photos is that there is a lack of detail in the texture of the teeth. It's a good result, it's a great result in fact. There is some texture but not a lot. The lighting appears a bit flat. Furthermore, the line angles don't have a good definition. I decided to look into this a little bit more, as I wanted to get even better photo. To be able to understand the direction of lighting a little better, we've got a 3D modeling software here, and I've imported a central incisor. Now at the moment you can't see a lot because there are no lights in the scene, so let's go ahead and add a little light, and let's put that light right in front of the tooth, and that basically represents what effect we get when we have a flash right in front of the teeth. So let's go and put that on, and there we go. So there is our light, and you can see you get a fairly good lighting. The subject is lit from the front, and it's a good lighting. However, there are some issues here as well, isn't there? Now you can see the tooth, but you can't see the line angles of the teeth of the tooth. You can't see any developmental grooves. There is simply no texture, there are no highlights or shadows, and that's simply because the light is coming from the front of the tooth. Now how about we move the light here, and let's see what that gets us. So let's go and switch off this light, and let's put on the light on the side of the tooth, and there we go. As soon as the light goes on the side of the tooth, now we can see there are certain highlights and there are certain shadows. You can see the developmental grooves as well, and generally there is a lot more texture on the tooth, and that's the advantage of using light from the side and not just from the front, to be able to capture the texture of the teeth. However, in this image as well, you can see there is a good well lit area here, and you can see a bit of a dark area on the other side. So the answer to that is you just need to add another light on this on the other side. So let's do exactly that. There we go. Now I've added another light there, and you can see they both sort of balanced each other out, and now you can see the line angles, you can see the developmental grooves, there are some highlights, there are some shadows, so that translates into getting more texture on the teeth. Now just to understand that a little better, I'm going to switch them side lights off, and I'm going to do the light in front. Just flick that on, and that's the result with the light right in front of the tooth. Let's switch that off. Let's switch on the other lights, and you can see that creates such a different result, isn't it? So let's put that into practice. Let's go into the real world, get 2 flashes, fire them from either side, and let's see what that gets us. So obviously we need 2 flashes. I've got one system here. This is the Canon 270EX2. I've got another system, and that one's from Godox. Why am I using a Godox? Well, you can actually use any system that you want. There's another one from Miike, there's another one from Canon itself. I heard good reviews about this system, and therefore I got these. This is the one that I used first. Now obviously they need to go on either side of the lens, and in my camera system they won't fire unless I have some kind of a triggering device. I don't have an inbuilt trigger in my camera, so I've got this. This is a Canon Speedlight transmitter STE2. Now what that does, it sits on the hot shoe of the camera, and when I fire off the shutter, this remote fires off the 2 flashes. This remote contains a unique battery. It sits in there, and this just accepts 2 AA size batteries. If I need to put it on, I just put it on the slave function, and that's good to go. So we'll take a few shots with that, but before that, this is the other system. That's from Godox. I prefer this system really because it's got an inbuilt lithium ion battery. So it's got a little port there, you connect it to any USB, and it's got the inbuilt battery keeps charging. So if I just put that on and turn the dial, and there we go, that's good to go. You can test it by just doing that. So obviously this is again a pair, and similarly they need to be fired off remote. So I'm going to need a trigger for that as well. It comes with its own trigger. That's from Godox again. It's got a little on button on the side. It's set to manual, and let's see if that actually works. So we're going to try and give that up. There we go. So that's actually firing the flashes. So this sits on the hot shoe, and when we press the camera shutter, this remote is going to fire both of them off. I've got here this bracket. This one's from Photoman, and your flashes basically just go on there, and just attach that and show it to you in a second. So pause that. So I've attached both the flashes onto the little bracket, and this goes underside of the camera. You just pop it there and tighten it, and there we go. That's good to use. Now you might think it's a good sturdy system. It actually is. What is the downside of it? I think the bracket is so hard to move, to pull them apart and then pull them back together, and this thing keeps on loosening. As you can see, it just happened now. So it's quite fiddly. It's sturdy but yet fiddly. I think the joints are just too tight. But let's take a few photos from them and let's see what happens. Oh yeah, and we're gonna need this little remote to go on the hot shoe. There it is. And then I just press the lock button, and that's all good to go. You can see it's only a bare flash. Let's see what that gets us. The result of the dual flash is a lot better. Now we can see a lot more line angles. We can see a little bit more texture on the teeth. Now there is a downside to this as well. As you can see on the molar areas, the light isn't actually going right all the way back. So you can see a few dark areas as we go posteriorly. Now let's compare that to our image with the ring flash. As you can see on the left, the ring flash images, they've got a lot of bright light. It does the job. But the one on the right, the one with the twin flash, the result is more flattering. You get a lot more texture, you get more line angles, and it's generally looking a lot better. Now let's put that into our collection of where we took all the other images. So as you can see, as we've gone from the mobile phone to the ring flash to the twin flash, the results are looking a lot better. So let's now look at another option. let's put on a diffuser and let's see what that does. So let's talk a little bit about the diffuser. So the next thing what we're going to try and do is soften the light that falls on our subject. We're going to use a couple of these bouncers, or light bouncers as they're called. We pop our flashes in there, and instead of the flash directly throwing light on our subject, it's going to bounce it off this white surface. So let's put them on and see what we get. So that's the result with the dual flash and with a light bouncer. As you can see, it's not a bad result at all. You can see it's evenly lit. You can see some more line angles. You can see the translucency there. You can see a bit of tough surface texture going on as well. So it's a good result. Now, how does that compare to the ones without the bouncer? We made a little comparison. The upper ones are the ones without the light bouncers, and obviously the bottom ones are the ones with the light bouncer. You can see really you can't, it's difficult to appreciate the difference, but somehow the lower ones look a lot better. There's more light reflecting off the teeth, and it gives a more flattering result. However, we're going to try and look at what other options we have. I mean, don't get me wrong, it does give a good result with the diffuser on, with the deflector on. Let's try and look at how we want to try and diffuse the light even more. Now, why do we want to do that? Because up until now we've noticed that the light is important, but even so, it's more important to try and get a larger surface area striking the teeth. So a larger surface area of the teeth getting lit up by the flash. So let's look into the next option there. If you want to soften the light even more, this is one of the concepts that I came across. It's called a Fixlite. I thought it was brilliant. It's got a couple of soft boxes on a little arm. So let's put that on our camera and see how that looks. Right, so that goes in there. It just slots in there and just tighten up the screws. There we go, very simple setup. So this is going to go under the camera, so let's put that on now. So there's my camera. It's a nice little simple design. All that it does is it just goes under the camera and it snaps into place, and we're good to go. So we're going to put on our camera, put on the flashes. There we go, there we go. And finally, not to forget, nothing is going to fire off until we put our little transmitter on. So let's get that out and let's pop it in on the hot shoe. Just tighten that a little bit, flick it on. There we go. So that says manual, full power, and we're good to go. So let's take some shots. So before we do that, just a little thing, why we want to use this is actually allowing the light to diffuse even further, so you get softer light, and I'll explain that to you in a second. Now that's the result from the mini softboxes. On the left central incisor, if you can see, the convex surfaces are reflecting the light quite well. It gives an idea of the texture of the tooth. You can see the line angles a lot better. Overall, a way more flattering result. Let's look at the side photos. So that's again a good result. And if you look at even this one, you can see so many details. The surface texture looks so nice, and that's the beauty of using a softbox. Now let's compare that to the other results. So on the top is without the light bouncer, so you can see a little bit of light there. Then you've got dual flash with the light bouncer. You can see a little bit more light reflection there, and then with the soft boxes you can see it's way more evenly lit. So as we keep going down in the photos, you can see more light reflections, and I think that gives a way more flattering result. I'm really impressed with the mini soft boxes. That brings us to our final option. This is a soft box. As you can see, it's mounted on a little head there, and the head has got a little receiver, and this receiver is basically picking up signals from the transmitter. So that transmitter sits on the hot shoe of the camera, and when the camera fires off, this transmits a signal to there, and that makes this fire off, and you get a good large flash from it. Now, what is the advantage of this? Like we discussed with the smaller soft boxes, it's the same effect really, but at a larger scale. It's causing a more diffusion of the light, and so you get a better result. You get more even lighting, it looks more flattering. So let's have a look at the results of some of the shots with them. Obviously this is a good solution, but it's not really practical if you've got a small room. I have another room that's spare next door, so I put up my little soft boxes there, and move my patient over to the next room, and that's how I'm supposed to get these. I'm able to get these shots. If your room is small, you're basically better off with these smaller diffusers. That might be a better solution for you. So a quick brief summary. With the mobile phone, the pros are it's quick and easy to use. You can just take it out of your pocket and start getting shooting. You could use it when there is no other option. Like I said before, a photo is better than not taking a photo at all. On the downsides, it's got a distorted perspective, and that's less got to do with the flash itself, but it's got more to do with the lens. Secondly, it's got inadequate light to capture the posterior teeth. Really, one can get only a basic type of an image. With the ring flash, the pros are it's a great all-rounder. It's able to light up all the teeth, anterior and posterior. It's easy to use, it's quick to set up, and it's great for occlusive views as well. On the cons, it can create a harsh light on the anterior teeth. You have difficulty in seeing the surface texture of the teeth. Then with the dual flash, whether that's with a diffuser or without the diffuser, the lighting from both sides is able to capture the texture of the teeth. It shows all the line angles. It gives you a more flattering result and is able to capture artistic type of photos. On the downsides, it can feel a little bulky. It needs some kind of a bracket to hold the flashes in place, and the alternative is to hold the flashes in the hand. I've tried that before, but then the patient is holding the retractors, and then the nurse or your assistant is holding the flashes, and then you're holding the camera. I don't know, it's just too many hands in place. So I just prefer to use a bracket. And finally, the downside is it's tricky to take occlusive photographs with a dual flash unless you get them really close to each other. But then if you get them too close, it basically functions like a ring flash. Then a twin flash with a soft box. Now pros, you get a lot of light diffusion, so you get more even lighting. It's able to capture the surface detail quite well. Overall, a way more flattering result. It can capture artistic photos. Fixlite in particular, it's easy to attach and remove to the camera, and it feels very secure and stable. On the downsides, it can be bulky, it's difficult to place on the table, and it may be difficult to take some occlusive photographs. With the studio flash, the pros are it is by far the best option at light diffusion. It can achieve a flattering result. It's great to capture the surface texture of the teeth, and also for capturing really good artistic photographs. On the cons, it's quite bulky. Sometimes it's not practicable to use in the surgery. There may not be adequate room in your surgery. And finally, often it has wires that need to be plugged into the mains. So finally, some top tips. Number one is take lots of photos. The more photos you take, the more you're able to go and look at them when you're at home or wherever you are. You can enlarge them and you see the quality of your own work. That's a good result. However, what could have I done to make that result a little bit better? So it's an excellent self-reflection tool. Apart from that, of course, you can use it on Facebook or Instagram or any other social media that you have. Secondly, keep all the equipment ready. All the flashes, all the brackets, and whatever system that you're using, it needs to be pre-assembled. If it's all ready to go, you can just pick up your camera and start shooting straight away. If you're going to have to put the lens together, put the flash heads together, and it puts you off from taking lots of photos. So keep it all ready. That's the second tip. Thirdly, no problem in getting used kit. If you can get it from a reliable source and it's got some amount of warranty on it, by all means go for some used equipment as well. And finally, play around with the settings of the flash. Sometimes you get different results with different flash systems. Sometimes the cameras are different, so you have to play around with the settings to be able to see what actually works for you. Change the settings a little bit, take a few photographs, and you'll get the hang of it, which one actually suits you the best. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you found it of some use to you. If you have any comments to make, please enter those comments in the comment section below, and hope to see you in another video soon.